States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They had a call, so Dennis is running a few minutes behind. Somebody switched him, and I promise you, I didn't. I had that one last meeting. Somebody in here.
Yeah, no,
These other.
Booby trap chairs?
Yeah, she's got the one that's recliner.
We always start with the Employee of the Month, and this month, for the month of August, we have Michael Dunkirk, who's actually an auto mechanic too in the Central Garage, and he's hired with us on August 16th, 2005. And Mike is a well-versed mechanic, and we're very fortunate to have him. He's a great local guy, young family, and his brother's a police officer, and he really steps up whenever we when we need him. And I know in the wintertime, we have the snow plows, he's out working there, and he does a lot of work with all the activity that's going on. So on behalf of the village, I want to congratulate Michael for being the Employee of the Month. He's not here tonight, but so we have the public comment section. We have Evelyn Conrad.
Evelyn Conrad, 18 South Roscoe Drive, Southampton. Good evening, Board of Trustees. Mr. Mayor, I'm here principally to congratulate you on winning the second round in court. And obviously, the Boys Network did what the Boys Network does, and we're getting ready for the next few rounds. I, above all, want to congratulate you on your spectacular election victory. And on top of that, let you know that we tried very hard to find someone to run against you. No way. Just a little anecdote, and then I shall leave you to your very important business. Some weeks ago, there was a meeting of the very upset Burnett Street people, and they had invited Jay Deasing and me to attend it. So this was a wonderful opportunity. All of us said to Jay, "You've got to run for mayor. You'd be a terrific mayor. Please run for mayor. We can get you the signatures, no problem." Jay said, "I can't do it. I have to earn a living." Now there is an honest man, or one who is incredibly naive, because I can hardly think of a bigger cash cow than village government these days, and bigger than hedge fund running, and no IRS. In any case, warmest congratulations on your election. And thank you. Good night.
Jim Williams. Please don't try.
I wouldn't attempt it. I'm Jim Williams, 100 Big Fresh. Okay, a few weeks ago, you folks amended Village Code 80-1A to allow surf schools and swimming lessons on at the village beaches. And when you did that, there's also some specific terms of the permit: hours and days of operation, Monday through Friday, 9 to 12, numbers of students 20, area of operation, Fowler's Beach. Okay, since then, the surf school has been in operation, or surf lessons have been in operation at the picnic area. We've been to a few meetings here, and you gave us a word that wouldn't be happening again. Just curious why. Okay, July 28th, I called law enforcement. Code enforcement came down, whistled the kids out of the water, said, "You guys know your permit doesn't apply here." They said sorry, and they left. Next day, the same thing occurred. Code enforcement came, nothing happened. Last Sunday, the 25 kids, code enforcement came again, nothing happened. And I'm just wondering why this operation's been allowed to continue. Area in direct violation of the terms of their permit.
I don't know. I don't know how many kids were down there. It's just, I know on Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, when they went down and they went to speak, they were speaking to the private property owner. Mm-hmm. Actually, had hired the people to come in and do private surfing lessons for them and their family and some of their friends.
Mm-hmm. So basically, that surf school is still operating.
I'm saying private lessons of individuals hired by private property owners down in that area.
So the village ordinance doesn't count on private property?
Right. It's
Really?
pretty- it's
Interesting. So
pri-
I mean,
it's-
noise ordinance would?
No, I mean, it's
I mean-
private property.
Right.
It's a private homeowner
Mhm.
hiring somebody to come down and give them surfing lessons.
Okay, well, the village
The
code.
breaks in front of their house.
Right, well, the village code also defines
And,
where the
and also,
area.
these same private property owners came in and they sit down with me and they were talking about being harassed in their own property.
So enforcing the law is considered
No,
harassment?
they're talking about, and they named you and 3 other people as people that are harassing them on their property.
Oh, no
I'm
harassment by
just,
calling on?
I'm just saying that that's what happened. That's what happened.
So that that operation is going to be allowed to continue?
They can, if they're giving private surfing lessons to the people that own the property. That's the people that own the property.
Understood. The guy's permit doesn't allow him to do that.
They own the property. The private property owner down owns the property.
Understood.
They've hired somebody to come in and give them and their children and a couple of their kids' friends surfing lessons. There's one break. I get it. I was down there on Sunday. I saw there's 50 people out on the water. Everybody fighting for the break. I get it. And I also know that they're down there for a little bit of small time. I mean, I see it. But it's a private property owner that's hired people to come in and give them private surfing lessons. They have the right. It's the same thing if I want to hire somebody to come into my backyard and give my kids swimming lessons. That's what we have. That's what we have.
Okay, is there any limit on the size of the group that can be given instruction? I mean, 20 people is an awful lot of students.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many people are down there. I don't know. I'll go down on Sunday and check it out. I'll talk to them.
Okay, this is really disappointing, but
All right.
thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Tim.
Good evening. Tim Barringer, 242 North McGee Street. I'm actually backing up what Jimmy just said. I was down there Sunday. There were 2 separate groups getting instructions. One had at least 10. I was there. Another had at least 8. They were very much separated.
Yeah.
There was cash transactions witnessed going on the beach. These surf instructors, we're of the understanding they either work with or for Shane or through Flying Point. I understand the concept you're talking about it's private property, but then why is, we call him Jersey Joe because he's got a white Ford with New Jersey plates. We'll could get to that someday, but he parks in the village parking lot with his quiver of surfboards hanging out of the back of it. He's not on private property.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that one.
I was there. So that's when I saw it. So
I'm just saying, I just know that I had the conversation with the property owners.
yep.
Okay, who've hired kids to come down and give them and their children surfing lessons,
And that's
which they have the right. Now,
that's understood, sure.
if there's another group, Jersey Joe showed up with a whole bunch of surfboards in the back of his truck, and he's down there, then it's something we have to deal with.
and we'd like you to deal with it because it's going on. And
Well, if it's a
they're-
separate group and they're down there,
They're
then
in one way
that's-
thumbing their nose at you. You've put in a regulation in place that works.
Oh, we'll have. I mean, the
But
chief is here. He'll have.
We'd like to see.
He'll have the conversation.
Yeah,
The only
okay.
thing, when we met with the
I don't want to
family-
bother the property owners. I understand.
When we
Yeah.
met with the family, the property owners, they didn't appreciate being pulled out of the water and
Okay, harassed.
harassed.
Yeah. And
And that's it. So if there's a separate group down there that's coming down and trying to hunt, then we'll get to the bottom of that.
okay. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Susan Stevenson.
Susan Stevenson, I live on Toilsome Lane. I was just wondering if the village had attempted or would attempt to come up with some kind of protocol and plan to deal with the traffic situation that's arising from closures of the highway, which I know is a town, perhaps, jurisdiction. But all this traffic is at a standstill going through our village on our streets. And I feel like, shouldn't there be information traffic directing, and some kind of response from the village to this kind of an emergency that would alleviate some of the problems. And also, shouldn't there be communication between whatever jurisdictions, I know this is complicated, the town, the village, whatever, when something like this happens, i.e. they contact, I don't have a police scanner, so I don't know that. So if I get in my car and drive west and you've closed the highway, I mean, if someone says to me, if you don't have to go this way, go back. I read on the 27 East comments, social media should take care of that. Well, if you're in your car, you're not supposed to be on the social media. So, and that might have been part of the problem in some of these crashes. So I really think for public safety and for for commerce and for the residents of the village, whatever it takes to get a really unified response would be appropriate and would be helpful. Last year, we couldn't even get to this meeting in July, a similar situation. I saw no one knew what was going on. And I think it's pretty much the same this year. And I would hope that someone would take it upon themselves to look into this, to have a protocol that is who you call or who's calling whom, and a plan. If it happens at this part of the highway, what's going on. Because it really does, it impacted commerce to an extreme these times. Not to mention, I think it's extremely unsafe. People get crazy, people run out of gas. I don't even know what all goes on. But I am asking you if you could possibly do something about it.
Susan, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to say what I was going to say later in the meeting. At the end of each meeting, we each get a chance to bring up any subjects that we think are worthy, and this was going to be my subject tonight. And I don't know if is it appropriate?
Yeah.
It's very
One
appropriate.
of the things that I was going to ask the mayor to do is to take a group of us, including top personnel from our police department, and get the timelines on everything that happened at this most recent accident and probably from the one last year, because one of the things that I think I see is this, that first of all there's the issue of a coroner. And sometimes, I think the coroner, Mark, I think you said the coroner got there in an hour or something this time, but there have been times in the past when the coroner took 4 or 5 hours and everything grinds to a halt.
I thought the law changed so now an EMS can pronounce someone dead.
Well,
Is that true?
if that's so, I don't know. But that's,
I read that.
The coroner's one issue. The next issue is they have some group, and I don't know if they're state police or whether it's within the Southampton Town Police, but and our own police chief can maybe clarify this, but you have to have these photographs taken of an accident reconstruction group, and you have to be specially trained to do this, and God knows when they got there. But I know several years ago there was a case where the coroner couldn't get there for 4 or 5 hours because of the traffic jam. And it was astonishing how each gumshoe event generates children, And a third thing, I think this time because there was a public bus transportation thing, then you get the National Transportation Safety Board. And what it seems to me is that we need a letter spelling out, take this specific accident, and I think the one from last year as well, and get when did the coroner get there? One of the things that occurs to me on the coroner, why, obviously the ambulance people, I'd like to know when they get there, but generally I think they're there within 10 to 20 minutes, and the fire department's in there, the same thing, they get there right away. And yet it turns into anywhere from a 7 to a 10-hour fiasco. And this National Transportation Safety Board, I'd love to know when did their man get there, because apparently that gums up the works. And also this business of the accident reconstruction teams. And it would seem to me that we ought to try and come up with a plan where every one of the people that are conceivably integral to resolving the problem should have to be there within an hour and a half. There should be a plan, or an hour. I don't know what timeline to say, but this thing of taking 9 and 10 hours to resolve something is atrocious. And not only, there are other considerations. The hospital employees that couldn't get to work that day, and what kind of overtime did the hospital have to pay to their other employees to stay on until the other people showed up? And then all the businesses, I would guess off the top of my head that nobody took a bigger beating than Town Hall, because so many of their members and employees come from West and couldn't get to work that day. And I called the Chamber of Commerce. I was trying to get them to give me any kind of an idea of what kind of a commercial disaster this was for all the businesses in the town. And then, 2 meetings ago, we passed this thing, I think, to put up signs that if you're going to be idling your car for 10 seconds or more, turn off the ignition, And I would love to know, and only God knows the answer to this, but how many tens of thousands of gallons of fuel were burned that day, like people that were taking 2 hours to go. And the best story I heard was somebody, Bill Yawney, from Hampton Bays, was trying to come back, couldn't. After an hour of going 200 yards or something, he drove around, went to Greenport, took the Shelter Island Ferry, came across, paid, and they say the Shelter Island Ferry got all screwed up as a result of
I'm
this.
sure
and
it did.
So anyhow, but I would really like us to put together a group, sit down with our chief. I'm not looking for a go. I just think if we put it down on paper, we'd see it just loud and clear. If the NTSB didn't get there for 5 hours, then they've got to come up with a plan. If the coroner can't get there within 45 minutes, I don't know why. You say a person is dead. Suppose you're wrong. I would say put them in the ambulance and take them to Southampton Hospital and they've pronounced probably 50,000 people dead over the years, and they know how to do it. And on that one chance in 30 that you might still be alive, they might save a person. But in any event, if we could get these timelines, I would think you could show, last year they said there was a fuel spill. I bought my photographs from last year's accident, and you can look at it, and it was a joke. The 2 westbound lanes, it happened right, the accident cars were both in the eastbound 2 lanes coming down out of County Road to 39. This was the perfect place to have an accident because you have a median, a triangular shaped median, and a lot of debris. You can see it in the road, and you can see the medevac waiting to take somebody away, but the 2 vehicles are clearly over on the south side of everything. And why they couldn't get those 2 westbound lanes open, if they got one of them open, it would help. But anyhow, we should know the answer. It shouldn't take 9 hours. And honest to God, I got caught in this thing the other day, and I was astonished at what I saw. And so I think we ought to put together a group and sit down and just get them to lay down, give us a schedule, a timeline on everything that happened at this accident, and see if there is an answer. I remember Jack Risk, God bless him, telling me a year ago after that accident, he said that within an hour and a half, all the fire trucks were back in their department. And there's all kinds of talk, well, there's a fuel spill and all this sort of thing, and honest to gosh, if Jack knows what he's talking about, and I think he did, they had dispensed with that. There's debris. In any event, let's get. I think we ought to just as a group, and then we can go to town hall. I'm not trying to throw rocks at anybody, but this is just damnably intolerable.
But I also think that the village police, I'm sure it's a white car, need to get out there and help people and say, go back, or there's a terrible problem, or direct traffic at the intersections. What prevents them? That time when there was a meeting, no one knew anything in July last year. We're not that far from the
We went home at 9 o'clock.
police station. I had to walk
to
here.
the library.
I left. I live 3 blocks away. I walked here. I stopped on South Main. Yeah. But there should be. I feel like isn't that? I'm from the Midwest. Isn't that what the police is for? Also, to help when there's a problem. And I don't see that happening. And a lot of people have said things to me lately about that. They just want to give me a ticket. They don't want to help me. And I feel like when there's an emergency.
I disagree with that.
Well, I'm not, this is what people have said to me. I'm not, but I do feel I have seen very little evidence in these incidents where traffic calming in the village, and by the way, it's all routed through the village.
Look, when you shut down one of the main arteries around here, there's one way out.
Right, but then it becomes our problem. It's our problem also. That's all I'm saying. And we do have personnel.
What Bill is talking about, focus in on the accident scene and how you can actually clear that up as rapid as possible, and at least get traffic moving on County Road 39.
Right, I agree with that, but aren't you? But if it's on County Route 39, you have nothing to do with that.
We have no control over it.
So that being said, can there be traffic calming or information help from within the village? That's what I'm saying. If that's impossible,
the chief's here and
I don't know if it's possible. All I'm saying is it would be welcome.
You know
okay?
what, Susan, I think the problem
Meaning
the
like
village
traffic
has.
alert.
But,
Traffic
well,
alert or,
Yeah, just go home.
Go home, yes, who
Back
knows?
up to East Hampton.
Go to
if you
Felling
don't have to
Hands.
go,
But
that's all.
I honestly would love to see the facts.
You could go
Once
east.
Once you had them, you could tell, okay, it genuinely, there was no other resolution of this thing than to take 7 or 8 hours. But the damage that it does is so extreme, and we have a unique, I think these, like all rules, police departments are people that go, they have rules and everything, and if you do something and you violate the
Right,
rules
you're
and
in
it
trouble.
backfires, then you're in a heap of trouble. And yet, I can't believe that every one of the things that I've heard, the national transportation, the accident reconstruction, I don't know if that's the state police, do you know if that's who does that, or does the town have their own group?
It's
gonna
kind
let-
of a
I thought
can of
maybe-
worms over there, evidently.
Chief, do we have an accident reconstruction crowd ourselves? Anybody trained for that? No? Maybe that's the answer. In other words, have a plan with the town, in cooperation with the town. I'm not
Great.
looking for a goat,
We're
but
not disagreeing with you at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just,
Okay.
it's happened too
And
many times now,
and-
that's what I
and
think.
we've and we've
And it will
and we've
continue.
and we've
Yeah.
and we've met with the town, and they've said we're going to develop these plans.
Well,
and
I
all
went-
of that,
they don't have a
and-
plan
And
either
they've had
yet.
a change in leadership in the police department, and
Because I went to their
um,
meeting and it was just,
right.
we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
But
well.
I think somebody has to do something, and it would be really welcome if we did something either in tandem with them or just to help people who are stuck here. Because really, people, even I have thought, I'm just not gonna buy anything, I've sort of had, it makes you not happy about being here.
Mark, my own feeling is find out exactly what took all the time for this particular accident, and you want to do the last one, do that too. But then just, you've got to have a goal. How can we get the accident reconstruction team and the coroner, and, if there's a fuel spill, you can't ask people to drive through that, and yet, if Jack was right a year ago, and that was one of the excuses we got, that there was petroleum products on the road, and I'm sure there were. But how long, couldn't they just have flushed it off and...
Well, my other question is, for
Well, do
instance,
nothing.
in Cape Cod, do they do this? They have one road. Other
Well, we don't know,
municipalities.
it could happen there too. Do we
Well,
know
I
that
just
for a
would be
fact?
interested what their,
Anyhow,
It's
I
a
know
phone
it was,
call.
it was a commercial vehicle involved in the
Right.
last 2 accidents on the road, and that changes.
yeah.
That
Right,
does
but-
change. It changes if it's
Investigation
too.
process.
That's. So
But you know
it-
what? Mark, my own reaction to that,
I'm gonna sit down.
that you're hiding there. You have a rule, and there's a reason for the rule, and I'm not quarreling with the rule. But when that rule, because of our peculiar circumstances, that there are no other alternatives to do, and then it just gums up everything, and you have the real dangers. I was thinking to myself, how does a person, if there is a fire, if there is an ambulance call, can the people who get to the firehouse, first of all, just getting there is going to be a hell of a trick, and then to drive fire trucks through this melange is
Dennis,
going to be a
do you-
next challenge.
Do you want to make, just come on up here.
Dennis Roy, Fire Chief, 339 South Main. There was one accident last year you were referring to. There was hundreds of gallons of diesel fuel, and it wasn't just allocated to one direction. It started on the slope by the Lobster Inn and went completely down for hundreds of yards. They dragged it. And our firemen got out, and we were slipping and sliding. It was an ice skating rink. So that's why that one took
Yeah.
so long to clean up. By the time we got, sanders there and sweepers and so forth. And this last call, we got there, and we were there in 3 minutes, the fire
Yeah, I
department.
can imagine.
But like you said, you had to wait for the coroner and then a reconstruction team, and then like the mayor had say, it's a commercial bus vehicle, so you have to wait for.
NTSB.
Yes, exactly. So, and our fire police, they're conscientious. These guys have been doing this for 2 generations, and they try. But like the mayor said, there's only once this happens. and Mr. Stevenson was saying, can you route them someplace else? You can't. And even if you tried to route them someplace else, they just try to go. They scatter like rats on they just go everywhere. So we have no control sometimes. It's
nowhere to go.
Yeah, there's no place to go.
Let's take the bus and the young lady. Was there a way to isolate the eastbound side and maybe create
Tried
traffic
to do that,
flow
but
there?
the police officer on scene said that we couldn't because there was debris all over the road and it was a crime scene at that point. We definitely try working with the police, the town, and the village. We work hand in hand. And the main thing, we're conscious of it. We know all these poor people, and it affects so many people that we want to get traffic moving, and we're mindful of that all the time.
Dennis, you know what you just said, I'm sure, and there's a reason he's saying that, and it is a crime scene, but how long can you more or less, hide behind that, and you're causing an enormous dislocation and a dangerous dislocation and an expensive dislocation. And so somehow I just wish we could get it all in front of us and try and come up with a plan that if they can't come and take their necessary photographs so that you can clean up, if you can't touch anything until they come there and they take 5 hours to get there, then you're just
Well, I know the town is conscious of it. They had a meeting, when was that?
Just the other day.
Just
about it.
about.
yeah, but they were
yes.
conscious of it last year,
Yes,
and
yes.
because I well know I went to a meeting and the damn thing was called off because their then chief of police's mother was in the hospital or something like that, and I never heard anything more about it. But I think you got to get the timelines in front of you. When did the coroner get there? When did the NTSB? Maybe you're going to find out, well, if the NTSB guy took 5 hours to get there, or the accident reconstruction people, where are they coming? Is it the state police, or does the town have a group that does
town.
it? And the town does? And do you know yourself how long it took for them to arrive?
It took a long time. It took hours for them to get there. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
I mean, then there's,
We actually
and I'm not looking to
left the
blame
scene
them.
and came
Let's
back-
come
left-
up with an answer.
Yeah.
They've got to have 3 or 4 teams, and I realize, they've got 3 squads every day. There's 3 tours of duty and so on. So it's hard to. There are problems. They're not trying to obstruct. I know that, my common sense. But I do think that they've got to realize that flying by the usual rules in this instance is a disaster. Just got to solve it, and it. Anyhow.
Yeah, I don't think
I
any
wish
of
we
us
could meet with
I
our-
don't think any of us disagree, so we'll get a meeting with the supervisor and the chief
Yes,
of police
definitely.
and you guys, and we'll see what we can do. I mean, that's it, and that's a scary road. I mean,
Oh,
there's
it
a-
is. It's terrible. It's,
I saw signs that popped up about it increasing the speed limit to 45, but I don't know. But I don't know, I think those signs were taken down. And, but I know that was a discussion at the county level,
Hopefully that got quashed.
yeah. So,
Could you make up a few copies of that? That's the editorial that the editor of the press wrote
stay
after
up
last
on-
years accident, and
we just
everybody
asked to
should
see if
see it.
anybody else has
And
it.
he ends up by saying it will happen again, and sure as hell it did, And I just think we've got to put our heads together and see how we can guarantee that everybody that's relevant is there within an hour. And if they aren't, we've got to come up with a way to resolve it. Anyhow, enough said.
Anybody else from the public would like to make a comment? Okay, so we're going to close the first public comment. Board presentations, Chief Roy.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for we were just going to jump in the shower. Every time we have a board meeting, it seems like we have a fire, and we just had a big call at the IGHL. It was nothing happened, but it was a general alarm, so we all went up there, and we were trying to get cleaned up for you. I'm sorry. We went out to bid with Unit 7.
Very low expectations. If you're doing summertime.
Nice.
We're in ties,
All right, I'm here with regards to replacement on 7311. We went out to bid with your blessings, as you know, and only 2 came back. 2 bids came back, and only one of them met our specifications, and it happened to be Pierce. We have a long history with Pierce, and we have very good results with them as far as maintenance and reliability and service, and we have the blessings of our maintenance supervisor also with this particular brand. He's very happy with Pierce. So I'd like to advise to move ahead and purchase this vehicle.
Commissioner?
Chief so eloquently just put it. We did discuss and approve this some time ago. We just sent them out to go through the bid process, and again, 2 came back. 1 didn't qualify, 1 did. It hits all the specs. Reputable company, equipment we already have currently in use in the department. So everybody sitting here in this room highly recommends it.
Sorry, yeah, my 2 chiefs concur, of course.
Which one is best dressed?
We have a copy of the bid results. Did you bring them? Side pumper.
Side pumper.
Side-
They're very, very happy. It's a great truck.
Side
It's
mount.
Side mount.
yeah, they wanted this side mount, and they got this side mount, so, amongst other things. They'll tweak it as they go along.
We just got to get the stuff in front of us, so for me
Okay.
to make a formal resolution, we have to have something to
Okay, all righty.
look at and at least to.
How's
gonna win-
the summer been so far?
SARS, it's been pretty good with, it's been very, very quiet with the exceptions of the motor vehicle accidents. And we're going to incorporate in our fire prevention program this year a big push for like an anti-texting pledge so we can, the fire prevention's been such a great success that we're thinking that if we incorporate texting, even though a lot of these kids that we're teaching aren't texting, but their parents are. So if we run with some sort of pledge to have your parents pledge not to text while driving, and because as you see in the village, every fifth car per person's looking down, texting and so forth, and that's, I'm sure it's contributing to the accidents.
I thought you were going to say every fifth car somebody's not looking down at their phone.
And also, the existing apparatus, how long in service now? Almost
22.
25? Almost 20, okay.
23.
23. So they were working on trying to keep to a 20-year replacement, so we actually squeezed a few years extra out of the existing
Right.
machinery while they were doing their due diligence on these.
We have 2 more pumpers on deck with 20 years now. We're up for replacement soon.
They have some stats or something in
Yes,
front of you,
it's
Steve?
a Pierce Arrow XT pumper at a bid price of $567,800.
Is there any way we can get a copy of that, Steve, so we can look at it in front of us?
Sure.
So did we get copies of that before you have to call?
We would talk to the fire commissioners about this too.
About the truck?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had their blessings. We had asked them beforehand.
And did they have opinions on types or anything like that? Or was it-
They didn't express them to me. They just. This is it's a great truck.
Yeah, no, the Pierce makes a great, and we have, yeah.
And the engine is exactly what they wanted and so forth, and
I think we'll have,
transmission.
we should get a longer life expectancy out of this too.
I imagine we will.
We hope to get a little something for old 11 too. We'll see.
Okay.
That's right, too, yeah, we might be able a couple of bucks for that.
Mhm.
And, but the main thing here too is that when he's talking about how we have, Kenny Zay, who runs the central garage, who runs takes care of all the equipment, he stands behind the purchase of this particular apparatus as well. Both what it is, what's on it, and certainly the manufacturer.
Thanks, Steve.
You wouldn't want to hear it. It'd scare the birds.
And of the 2 bids that went out, the other one just didn't meet the specifications of the bid. correct?
Exactly. In several areas.
Okay.
And the other bid with there's 2 primary manufacturers of apparatus, so the other one didn't meet the specifications, this one did, so that's why it's a very simple default to go towards using the Pierce bid. And of course, this is budgeted for and has been actually over for a couple of years now since it's
Yes.
been put off. There are a couple different delays as far as looking at the different
Over 2
equipment.
years,
So
yeah.
this is actually an overdue item, and again, within the budget between us and district's blessing with for their budgeting as well. questions from?
I don't have any. You guys have any questions for the chief on this? No? Okay.
Okay.
Make a motion.
All right, then I'd like to make a motion to accept the bid presented by Chief Dennis Broad to go ahead and purchase the one Pierce Arrow XT pumper for a price of $567,800 from Pierce out of Appleton, Wisconsin.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Sorry for the delay, but I just had to have something to look at.
Great.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, chief. All you guys for coming
Yes,
down.
yes,
and-
the chief, while you're here, one of the things, as you said that last year, there was this ice spill, and I can appreciate that's a real problem, but I'd love it if you could even just tell us, under those circumstances, how long did it take you, and what's involved? Because if you can, you'd love to think that they could have opened up even 2 lanes. The vehicles were all over.
I was running that incident. I believe I did it. We opened it pretty quickly. Even though if you just imagine it bringing all of that volume, you have 2, and even if you open one, it's still going to back things up tremendously.
No
But what happens at that time? I have to dispatch a sander, and the sander comes. They sand it. They remove it, and then they determine whether it needs to be done again. And that time it did have to be done several times in order to get that. It was so slippery, you can't imagine. It is on a slope there. And that's basically, but we did open one on, I believe, on the west eastbound lane. We've had one and one going, yes, but we did our.
In what period of time?
It was relatively quickly. It was nothing like the accident we had the other day. It was just a couple of hours. It was nothing. It wasn't an all-day affair like that at all. It was minor in comparison. I know everyone makes a big deal out of that one, but this was much.
Yeah.
This was almost 10 hours. That was a couple of hours.
Was there a fuel spill with this one too?
Minor, not much at all. The fatality is, and the bus is what.
You were there. Tell us what you think the biggest delay was.
The coroner and the state coming in to do their measurements and so forth, and they have to do their due diligence. They have to be exact because lawsuits and the bus and everything. Even it's just
amazing. You think. I guess you're measuring things with a tape measure,
laser.
photographing.
It's a
all
lot
that sort of
involved.
thing.
They have to bring out lasers and lines, and it's done very precisely.
Any idea where they were coming from?
The state comes from where?
One was from Inlet Road,
Inlet Road.
Southampton, and the other one was out of Farmingdale. The other trooper.
And how long before they were through with what they were doing?
It was 4 o'clock. We opened the road.
But I mean them.
Them
you try
themselves,
to add it all up.
They were done 3:35.
The funny part of it is, I was told, and it was in the papers, that the road was open at 4. I know that at 5:30, I was trying to drive from Sabonic Road. I made the mistake of not realizing that was open, and as did so many other people. And it took us 16 minutes to drive from Sabonic Road to the Shinnecock Golf Club parking lot, and it was just astonishing, And this was at 5:30, quarter of 6, And so you just wonder what the heck we could do. But I'd love to make some kind of an effort, and if we can improve on it, well, then we'll just. But at least we tried.
We have a town chiefs meeting. I'll bring it up on that level. I'm sure your police chief.
If you were us, tell us what you would do to try and cut the thing down to size.
We're trying to. We work the police.
I don't think you're the problem.
No, the police department and us. We really don't want to be up there either. Trust me. We're really trying to expedite as quickly as possible. Yeah. We really are, and it's just the chief can tell you. It's just the law. You have to follow the letter of the law, especially when there's a fatality. And then with the other thing, with the whenever there's oil on the road, you can't. Yeah. We'll just have another mess again. In 10 minutes, we'll have another accident, and then we'll be back to square one again. So we really are trying to expedite it. And then you just the funnel of people coming here, even on a good day when there's no traffic. You've seen the traffic. I mean, I don't have to tell you, it's insane. It's backed up. And then when you have something like that happen, I can appreciate what Susan's trying to say, but just.
Yeah.
There's nothing really, it's really tough.
Where to go?
What concerns me is the volume of buses now. It's multiple companies operating, and then on top of the garbage trucks and the movements. And there's a lot of commercial vehicles on that road.
I have to commend the press too, because of social media. everyone has a phone. Pull over, and
Right.
it's on 27 East in 2 seconds. They're on top of it very, very quickly. So if there's a problem, it's going to be online. That's for sure.
Also, the police department put alerts at the WLNG.
Oh, okay.
Channel 12, at 4 different news agencies,
Actually,
WLNG.
come on up here so we can catch it on, so that way it gets,
No.
now, come on up. We actually need to.
I work for the town
well,
police as a dispatcher.
For Charlie and
Oh,
and
Chris
Channel
Brenner,
22.
Second Assistant Chief, Southampton Fire Department. But they did notify WLNG, they did notify Channel 12 News, Shadow Traffic. There's multiple agencies that they all across the ticker on the bottom of the TV on Channel 12. County Road 39 closed due to serious accident. Avoid that area if possible. They do it for every major accident. Every radio station around is notified, and do your best. It was it was a horrendous scene. So
I think it was on some of the major channels too. I think it was on 4 and also CNN.
yes.
That is, it was, it could have been a lot worse.
Right.
Right.
Yes, that bus, exactly right. There was only three people on the bus.
Two.
Was the bus able to drive away finally, or was it
Not
incapacitated?
incapacitated, yeah. The road actually took a chunk out of the asphalt there. The impact was so severe, and actually took a divot out of the asphalt. It was terrible. It was a terrible accident.
Yeah. My 2 sons were there, so, yeah. Okay. Anything else we're gonna need to beat the chiefs up for?
No, I do it on a regular basis, so
Yeah, she's good at that.
I know.
I'm done.
But it's, as we always say, we talk about, that accident at 7 o'clock in the morning, cleared up and left at 4 o'clock, and it volunteers there throughout the day, not going to work, serving their community. And, we can't thank you guys enough for what you do and how you protect this community, and you step up every time. So we're grateful for your volunteerism and the volume of training that you have to undergo to be able to do all of this stuff. So we are very thankful. So thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for answering all the questions as well. Nice. Mama?
Invite us to the party when you get the new pumper.
Okay, you will.
Yeah, right.
First one.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
No public hearings. Good communications to the board.
First one's for Southampton Soccer Club. The fall soccer season is fast approaching and practice game schedules are upon us. Southampton Soccer Club is again hosting 9 boys teams and 4 girls teams, the most ever. These teams will be competing in the Long Island Junior Soccer League that will require playing field use for practice and games. We anticipate the need for fields to be on weekdays from 4 to 7 for practices and Saturday and Sundays between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. for games. A copy of our certificate of insurance was mailed to you for last fall seasons. The renewal date is September of this year. Once the renewal takes place, we will forward the updated certificate to your office. On behalf of Southampton Soccer Club, I would like to request permission to use the Downs Family Park soccer fields beginning the week of August 24th and continuing throughout this fall season until the 3rd week in November. As always, thank you very much for your consideration. If you require any further information, please don't hesitate to phone my office, Tim Rumpf.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the Southampton Soccer Club to utilize the Downs Family Park soccer fields in accordance with their letter dated August 8th, 2013.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second one's from Linda Gilliam, and writing concerning the private driveway off of Windmill Lane that provides access to several residents but has not been assigned an official street name. The private driveway is in close proximity to the Lola Prentice Park and the Southampton Police Headquarters. It has come to our attention that emergency vehicles have a difficult time locating the area because it does not have a street name. Since both of my parents are elderly, I am writing to request that the village assign an official name to the drive. A street name would ensure that when a resident from the area calls, emergency assistance can be dispatched in a swift and efficient manner. I also request that the driveway be named Elton Path in honor of my father, who has been a resident of Southampton all his life and who served as the superintendent of the Southampton Golf Course for 32 years. I would welcome the opportunity to discuss this matter further.
Is the little street next to the church?
The one that goes up.
Guess we need to look at who owns the road and all of that before we can. We can pull that in tax map and find out what. Okay.
Okay, resolutions, item 1, resolve that the reading of the minutes for the work session of July 23rd, 2013 be dispensed with, and those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator. The actions taken in that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 2, resolve that the claims for the warrants dated August 8th, 2013 totaling $301,297. Warrant 5 General Fund, 458.53 Warrant Fund 3 Trust Fund, $3,530.35 Warrant 5 Trust Fund, and $8,256.83 Warrant 3 Capital Reserve Fund, and the village payrolls for the period from July 12th, 2013 to August 8th, 2013 be ordered and approved. Have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Item 1, Absolute Shine Auto Spa detailing ambulance and first responder vehicles, $1,550. Aldo Andrioli, engineering fees for July and August, $6,500. Buzz Chew Chevrolet Olds, garage parts for the garage, $1,172.63. Cast Productions, July videotaping, $1,486.65. Page 3. Coastal Fire System masks for the fire department, $1,301.42. Coastal Fire System lights for the fire department, $2,153.54. Carazini Asphalt payment towards the Safe Routes to School grant, $111,872.47. Carazini Asphalt drainage at Hillcrest and Miller, $43,150. David Spellman legal fees for the Conrad case, $3,284.17. Page 4, EMT accounting services for July, $1,965.86. Finance manager annual maintenance agreement, $8,028. Firematic supply, 2 Rescue Randys, $2,010.50. Fundamental business services, July court fees, $1,500. Ranger on page 5, garage parts, $1,053. Hampton IT experts for the fire department, computer work, $1,032.50. Hampton IT again, computer work for Village Hall, $2,185. Page 6, Herrick Hardware, going on to page 8, July supplies, $1,393.54. Page 9, Johnson Electrical Construction, traffic signal maintenance for month of July, $1,275. LIPA street lighting bill, $1,236. LIPA building electric bill, $4,429.69. Page 10, LIPA for the police department, $5,782.90. Page 11, Mayday Communications, maintenance for the voice recording system at the police department, $3,500. Morgan Auto Supply, going on to page 12, garage parts, $1,469.61. Page 13, Nextel, July cell phone bill, $1,697.48. Norsec and Son, porta potties up at carting for Cooper's Beach, $1,073.28. And Norsec and Sons highway carting, $5,587.50. Page 15, present the plaque, proclamation plaques, $1,107.03. Page 17, Riverhead Building Supply, supplies for the highway, parks, and building departments, $1,051.49. Page 18, Suffolk County Board of Elections, rental of election machines, $1,195.91. Shoreline towing for July, $1,225. Page 19, Sprague, 2,514 gallons of gas, $8,193.37. Suffolk County Water Authority, 2 payments, $2,318.01 and $26,993.70 for the hydrants. Trias, valve kits for the vac truck, $1,412.77. Page 20, W&G Service, replacing the blower motor at the PD AC unit, $1,002. First trust warrant. Awards and gifts, plaques and trophies for the parade, 4th of July parade, $1,970.40. And Perfidec construction flags for the parade, $1,440. Capital reserve warrant, coastal fire systems, air cylinders for the fire department, $8,256.83. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I just ask one question?
Sure.
The Suffolk County Water Authority, you've got one bill for $2,300 and another one for almost $27,000. What?
It's
you
the
said
hydrant rental fees.
We rent the hydrants from them?
Yep.
Suffolk County gets a nice
Yeah,
big
they get
one.
a fee for that.
We don't own them? How often do we pay this amount of money?
It's an annual fee.
Annual fee.
No, I'm glad I don't need a hydrant. My dog.
You have a
Oh, well,
bathroom.
we'll leave that out.
You have a bathroom bill. It's cheaper.
That's a good thing. Item 3, resolve the Board of Trustees approve the mayor's appointment of Mylene Michelle Guerrera as deputy registrar for a 2-year term expiring June 30th, 2015. Have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
This is just my slip-up. This should have been on the organizational meeting, but it was a 2-year, so slipped it in there. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the hiring of Gary Poulier as the paramedic EMT for the Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance Corps at a salary of $20 per hour. Can I have a motion?
Make that motion?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the adjustment of the salary of Thomas Krickleva as a paramedic EMT for the Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance Corps to $20 an hour. Can I have a motion?
Make the motion?
Second?
Second.
Second.
Just as a comment.
This was just, he was put in originally at 18, but as an EMT, he gets
Yeah. I mean, the first guy hire is again with the ones we agreed upon to add to the guy that left. I guess the second one is just an adjustment of his pay.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the the hiring of Nicholas Calais as a paramedic EMT at a salary of $20 per hour.
I make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And again, this is the other one of the two that just go into the roster, replacing the ones that left.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees approve the release of a performance bond issued by Brian and Adriana Nava in the amount of $2,000 as recommended by Jonathan Foster, Building Inspector. Have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees approve the hiring of Dennis Hendrickson and Mark Gibbons as temporary EMTs for the Police Department at an hourly rate of $25. Have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Just a discussion on these two guys are just hired for the sole purpose of vice presidents.
Right.
So, that's why it's a temporary.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees authorize the mayor to sign an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Brookhaven that will allow the village to dispose of street sweepings and catch basin debris at the Brookhaven facility. Have a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? And resolved that the Board of Trustees approve the payment of $8,256.83 to Coastal Fire Systems from the Fire Department Capital Reserve account, subject to permissive referendum. Do you have a motion?
The motion?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And one discussion item, annual Flying Point Foundation for Autism will walk on September 22nd, 2013, from 9 to 11:30. Submitted by Kim Covell.
Yeah, we've done this for several years now, and that one year that it approved the route that was going to go across the private property and to the and this doesn't do that. So it was so we're they had gone before to like Pheasants Close, and that was all private property, and they we redid the route. So we had a good turnout. So I have to make a motion authorizing Flying Point Foundation for Autism to do the 8K, 2K fun run walk in accordance with their application for September 22nd, 2013.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay. Some comments here. Trustee Yaz.
Other than just to kind of expand a little bit on what Bill was saying, and some comments by the public. Again, I think I said it like even last time, as trying as those accidents can be, I think people need to realize that the police department, the first responders, they're out there quickly, and the length of time it takes, I think, is the approach to perhaps. But at the end of the day, if somebody has to inspect that scene and they're in Nassau County and whatever's, it's unfortunately we're handcuffed by that. But the other part of when it just gets gridlocked in the village, I mean, there's not much, where are you going to put them? The cars are there already. They're heading west and they're going home. They're from here heading west wherever they go, where their home is. So, I mean, the comments made about whether the police do anything, whatever, I don't agree with that comment. I don't like that comment, because they're out there doing stuff. What are you going to do? Where are the cars going to go? I was driving, and I've driven and I've seen it myself. The cars, as the chief of the fire department, Dennis Roy, said, they scatter. So it's like pouring water down a sidewalk with a bunch of cracks. It tries to find its way out, and it still ends up at a road jam, it's a jammed road. So when the situation happens, I think we can look into maybe expediting the time to investigate. But again, short of that, there's not a lot we can do. But what we can do to notify people in the village when it's, look out your window, you see the cars not moving, don't go anywhere. I mean, it's tough, but I don't want to, I don't like seeing the departments maligned for doing their job, all of them included. So, I don't think that's a very productive route to go, when somebody's looking for a solution. But that's all I got to say.
Great. Mike?
Let's continuing on that traffic issue. The emergency services, as you said, do a terrific job, and I think all of us have to be a little bit patient when they're trying to do their investigations, particularly when there's a fatality that is involved, and one may say, oh, can't you move everything off to the side and get the traffic going? Well, that's great, but if that was a relative of mine or somebody I knew very well, I'd really want them to take that time in the investigation. So I think we need to look at alternative ways to keep the traffic moving in the village itself. And Chief, I'll leave that up to you, but my impression when that jam up came is, yes, you're correct, there's no place to put them. There's nowhere to go because they're moving so slow to the east. But most of our traffic signals are designed to alleviate flow during normal times in one direction. And the difficulty that I saw is that the light sequences weren't helping at all. They were staying long in one direction, and people were getting stuck in the middle of the intersection, and other people trying to go around them. And I'm just wondering if it wouldn't be a more prudent thing to have the traffic officers at the intersections directing the traffic as opposed to the light sequence, because that seemed to be a big issue. And,
Chief, come on up. Yeah.
Okay, well, as far as the traffic control officers, they start at 10. They couldn't get here either. So we didn't have any. Like, I'll give you an example of the accident last year. For the length of time that the road was closed, I had a sergeant and 2 police officers working. They answered 22 calls, and they had to navigate around the gridlock. We had them out in a couple of intersections to start with, and they just got verbally abused. So, there was no. I mean, they couldn't tell anybody where to go because there was no place to go.
Yeah,
so they just kind of just stood there and got yelled at. So, and then they had 22 calls to answer, and that's a pretty good day when you can get around.
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing. I mean, I talked to a supervisor from the town police, but a police officer to police officer, not an official comment, and they kind of said, this is going to happen once or twice a year, and until they build a bigger, better road, people have to accept that some days you're going to have to change your plans. I mean, I don't know if that's a good answer, but that's kind of the answer they gave me,
Yeah.
That's an accurate description. It's about once or twice a year you're going to have to, hopefully that's all it remains to be.
And, I mean, it's not a good thing. I mean, we had the meeting with Assemblyman Thiel and Senator Laval, and it seemed like that was going to go in the right direction, but we never had another meeting. So, one of the things we talked about, I went to that meeting, one of the things we talked about was getting more people trained as accident investigators and then pre-positioning the equipment. You need specialized equipment for that. But since we never had another meeting, we never really could get anywhere with that. So, I mean, it wouldn't be bad to continue that group. It just didn't happen, I mean, it's very extensive training you have to get to do accident reconstruction, and the equipment is not cheap. It's at the point now where, like, when we had our experience was Memorial Day, maybe 3-4 years ago, we had that. We thought it was going to be a multiple fatal at 7-Eleven on Memorial Day.
Right.
crime lab came and did it for us, and fortunately, we were able to get people up Hampton Street and around the intersection, so it didn't stop traffic, but that happened at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and the crime lab was still doing their measurements at 10 o'clock in the morning. So,
What time did they get there?
I think about 8. So,
So 3 hours were lost.
well, the problem we had is that we initially called the county police, and they told us they would come, and then they called back and said that that's not something that we are allowed to do because of the way the county tax system is set up. So then we called the crime lab, and it was this Monday morning of Memorial Day weekend. They had to get their staff in from their houses, get their equipment, and get out here from Hop Hog. So,
Takes time.
so like I said, it didn't hurt like we didn't have that big of an impact because we could route people around it. But if you don't have an intersection near where you're going to stop traffic, you're going to have the same situation the town police have had. You know?
The two agencies that investigate accidents are what, state and county, right? Is town
Well,
one
it's
too, or
just
is
well, the bus you have to have the NTSB because it's
well, that.
but a normal accident's whoever's trained. I mean, we just don't have enough serious accidents to devote the resources to have guys go through. I mean, it's like 3 months of training, and then multiple thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and then you actually have to do it often enough to remember what you're doing. Because it's a multi-phase training class. I mean, the training itself, usually the state police will do it without charge. You just have to stay there. But, I'm going to lose a guy for a month for the basic class, and there's like a 3-part plan to that, and then you have to buy the equipment. So ideally, it's something that's done regionally, where you have 1 or 2 guys from each department, and we work together and whoever's nearby, if East Hampton has a guy working, they come here for us. I mean, that's the way, or if we have a guy and East Hampton needs a guy, we go there. I mean, that's the ideal way to do it, but that's not going to happen overnight.
Now, most of all these accidents have happened on County Road 39.
Right.
I
I
mean,
mean, I think it's happened at least once a year.
I really would push for the county to take another close look at County Road 39. I mean, I travel that 2 to 4 times a day, every day, all year long. And between the container trucks and the buses, it
Right.
is quite
It's dangerous.
it's a challenge.
It is, and you have all the people coming out of the side roads,
The side
that
roads,
center turning lane.
the very close curbs. I've bounced off in a truck once or twice off the curbing. There's no,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know,
it's a-
and
it's
so
a-
really, if you look at it,
Take a look at this photograph. This is last year's accident, and you will be able to see that the vehicles that were involved in the accident. Dana Shaw, I don't know how she got there, but she did. Maybe she medevaced, but anyhow,
She walks. Oh, yeah, she walks in. She walks. You can walk.
But, well, you can see the vehicles that are in the accident. There's the helicopter for the medevac and so on. And here's this median. And you tell me why.
Wasn't this the one that had the
That's what
huge
Dennis is
oil
talking
spill?
about.
You say-
This is the one that had
Yes,
the
it
oil
did.
spill.
It did have one.
Right.
And there's no question that's a legitimate problem and must be dealt with. But again, I don't know if Jack didn't know what the heck he was talking about, but he told me the fire trucks were back in the barn an hour and a half after they got there. Now,
Well, that I
maybe that is or isn't
believe,
so.
and the reason why is because I think you get to that point where it became a spreader and a sweeper
There's
issue.
nothing left for them
Yeah,
to
The
do.
fire- the fire trucks were-
themselves,
Yeah.
the heavy
But
rescue.
even then,
yes, they
yeah.
do
in
their
other
job.
words, I think if you set it up, it can't take 7 or 8 hours. God knows, someday we're going to have another death or some tragedy happen, on Hill Street or some darn place because somebody can't get there. And I just wish we could have a meeting with the chief, and I'd love to see some pictures of this accident and the timelines. When did the NTSB get there? How long? I'm sure that this photograph reconstruction group that's intricate and all that sort of thing. But it doesn't take 7 or 8, 9 hours to do that kind of crap, or at least
Well, that one it probably did. If it wasn't the bus, it probably would have been over faster.
Well,
If that was.
I mean, you can take a picture of a bus just
Yeah,
as quick as you can take a picture of
But
a
if you had a
car.
plane crash, you wouldn't drag the plane off the road. You
No.
would just sit there. And the NTSB does what they do, the way they do it.
Well, if we have a plane go down on 39, I'll accept whatever the hell happens.
But I mean, they're gonna investigate it basically the same
You
way.
know what? Was it Leo DeRocha said, "Show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser." And at this point, we're a bunch of losers. We've been screwed every time this has happened, and it's dangerous, it's expensive, and it's irritating as hell. And I'd feel better if we at least sat down and said we took a swing at it, and by God, there's nothing you can do. So if it's
Well, no, there's
you know,
been some improvement. Like we didn't used to, the common, I don't want to call it an urban legend, but the common sense in the police department was you couldn't move the body until the ME came.
and why?
Because there's a law that says
Did they
if you,
get any
if you move
deader?
a body, it's a misdemeanor.
Well,
Like, to answer one of your
no,
questions
you know,
about the
what I
ambulance,
said before,
an
you're
ambulance
following
cannot
the rules.
accept a dead body.
And maybe it's the rules. An ambulance can't accept a dead body?
No.
I think then, you know, when the rules are tangling you up, you know, we feel like Gulliver, for Pete's sakes, then you got to come up with some different rules that under certain circumstances, you can't tie up, you know, the city of New York because somebody died on Broadway.
Now the coroner has told us that when we get an appropriate amount of documentation for an investigation, we can move the body. And they'll come and get the body from where we move it to. But, like, this thing was an NTSB thing, so they couldn't move the body because the NTSB probably didn't want them to.
Thank God there wasn't an Al Qaeda person involved because we'd have had to fly them in from Washington, you know, to. It just, I think we owe it to ourselves to satisfy ourselves that the rules, that following the rules is what's tangling us up.
I mean, but I can't.
And the rules are wrong.
I can't decide that I'm not going to do what the law says.
Yeah, no, right.
No, but you can examine
Very good.
something.
Nice,
That's a
but-
very good observation.
Cherry pick what you want to
Chief,
follow
what
or
you
not.
can do is you can decide that under certain circumstances, the rules become the problem, you know, and I think that's what's happened here. The rules, you know, the NTSB, you can take 58 pictures of the bus. You know, I've seen Dana Shaw take 10 pictures in 3 seconds, you know, and
You know, if they said to us, you can open the road, I'm sure the town police would open the road. They don't want to stand there for 7 hours, 10 hours.
the guy that, you know what, I've watched accidents before on places where there were well-divided highways and all that sort of thing, and it's astonishing how many lights you'll see flashing from fire trucks and police trucks, and traffic is backed up for 1.5 miles, and nobody's even out there trying to guide them around, you know, so that they would file past it. If you got one lane open, but this picture last year, that one I just sent to you, boy, that one smacked of a situation that could be cleared up. If you've got to get sand on the road or something, there's, you know, no two accidents are identical. I'm sure that there's always a different problem, but you've got to have a plan. Or, as I say, if you're a good loser, you're going to be a loser, you know.
At that meeting with Senator Laval and Assemblyman Thiel, Bill Wilson was there, and he said that they basically had a plan to get that road open as quickly as possible, but he's not the chief anymore. So I don't know what Chief Pierce's plans are.
So,
I haven't spoken to him about it.
Aren't we missing the point a little bit? We're looking at the accidents
Instead of why
instead
they
of
happened,
looking
right?
at the road.
Yeah.
And, you know, traveling it every day, the road to me is the issue. It's
Right.
not the accidents.
It's the speed of the buses.
Yeah.
It's the speed of the
Container trucks.
The
Yeah.
container trucks are actually more dangerous to me than the
Well,
buses
they're
are.
faster. They run
Yeah.
faster. Than,
Did they establish in this case that woman that was killed, had she been on her cell phone or
I don't
something
think
like that?
they-
There was some talk about that. I don't know if that
I don't
was the
know
case.
answer to that,
How did
so.
she? I mean, there was not a full median. It wasn't 5 lanes at that particular point, but there was a separating, maybe a 6-foot separation between the
Close.
opposing traffics. And you say to yourself, how did she get over and hit the bus?
doesn't take much, Bill, on that road.
I mean,
it doesn't. One
Well,
One of the
break your
things,
concentration
yeah.
once. You're
well, that's why they put the
a real
rumble
problem
strip on the
is
center
how to
line.
open it up, not
Yeah. Which
what
is good
what
start.
happened. It's what happened after the accident that I'm concerned with, not how the
Right.
accident
Why don't
happened.
we get a meeting with Chief Pierce and
Okay.
I'd love it.
Yeah.
I'd love it if we could do it, just to
sit down and
satisfy
just do a
ourselves that
kind of
we've
a-
done
do a-
everything.
post-incident debrief and reach
Sure.
out to Fred Thiel and see what we can do.
Okay.
about
Great.
reinstituting that meeting.
Good
So,
move.
All right. I wasn't here for the last meeting, but I don't know if you talked about it. We passed our assessment by New York State, so we're going to be reaccredited for 5 years. So that'll
Congratulations.
happen in September. You know, they'll vote on it in September, and that'll take us probably, hopefully, through nearly my retirement date. So I won't have to worry about it again. It's been the 5th time for me doing
great.
that.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we're one of the longest villages in the state that's, I mean, we'll be credited for 25 years when this is done.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and as you all know, we have a visitor here.
I know.
So we're working on that.
Yeah, ask Biden about NTSB. Maybe he can help you move it along. It's a national, it's a federal thing.
Be glad to.
So,
Okay?
good.
All right.
Michael, did you have anything else?
Thanks,
to
Chief.
say?
No, that was it.
Congratulations on the
Nancy?
accreditation.
No, I think we've done quite a great job here discussing this, and
Yeah.
it's been the major topic.
Okay, Bill?
I do have one other thing to bring up that.
Thought so.
Well, I'd rather bring it up in private, but it's a, you know, a problem that many of us are aware of, is this thing on Wickapog with the little rods that are on the thing. And I wish we could put a group together to go down there and somewhere, I truly think, forgetting the personalities, as far as I'm concerned, Bob Giannos has been a wonderful citizen in this community, so I am not down on him. I mean, Warren Hamer has said it a dozen times in my presence, that that subdivision is the greatest subdivision that was ever done in this community. And I also know what, Mark, you might remember, didn't he contribute something towards the purchase of the hospital, that
Park, yeah. Yeah, the doctor's office.
yeah,
which
and
created the
facilitated
park.
that. So this is not personal. I think we've got a dangerous situation with those cables and those rods, and it's wrong. And if it is right, we should come and say it's all right, and that's the way it's going to be, and let's put it at the end of it. But otherwise, I honestly think that, because Steve did get an arborist, an expert to go down there and say those trees really have been in the ground long enough. I think when we made the original deal, that they would maintain them, that nobody, who would ever think of, you're going to need guy wires, cables to hold them. So, it's just one of those clumsy moments in life. But I honestly think it's time we either decided it's fine or it's time it stopped. And I would really like to wrap it up and get it over with, whichever way it works out.
Right.
So I have one more question. After I finish, Bill.
Yes.
Last week I brought up parking.
Yep.
So, I mean, have we had a conversation with the planning commission about it at all?
No, we have not.
Okay.
CMAC has been
Okay.
all over the place, so we haven't talked to the planning commission.
Because, I mean, I
about
would
that, so.
really like them to do something while we're in the middle of our season,
Well, we need-
even though I know that we don't plan our parking based on our busiest time. It's our year-round, but it continues to be so totally out of control. On Main Street, everywhere. I mean, people are parking, Chief, you're here, people are parking in spots that aren't even spots. I mean, there is no striping, never been a spot, and there they are parking. The parking lots, they're pulling up on the lawn. I mean, it's so totally out of control, I can't, it's just, and everybody's talking about it.
Well, unless we find room to build a new parking lot.
I think that we
There's
need
not
to
much-
discuss that
There
too.
was that
I know.
parking garage right
TCOs
back
are writing a lot of tickets, but, they can't pick the car up and move it. You're right, people are parking everywhere. The guys we have 8 kids out there and a couple of foot patrol police officers, they're writing tickets.
Yeah.
It's hell to be beautiful.
Yeah.
there. There you go.
Oh, and then one other thing I wanted to mention in response to the beach, for the rest of the summer, we're gonna have 2 police officers on the beach on Sundays.
Yeah.
Because we have the whole 7 miles to patrol, so one police officer is gonna stay down in that one particular area where there seems to be some issues, and the other police officer is gonna do the rest of the beach.
They can just double check to make sure it's not a second group coming in surfing lessons like that.
Okay.
And that would be,
And I think next year we're actually, some of the guys came to me with a plan to put, as long as we don't have, if we have the staffing, we're gonna probably have 3 beach patrol
okay.
officers next year instead of 2. So we'll get a little bit better coverage.
Hopefully we'll have a larger break too. It's just,
Right.
it's a very small break. They had like
They had to
40
jam it up.
surfers, 50 surfers trying to hit the break. So,
Some new brakes.
yeah.
Whose idea was it to put the break there?
Oh, I think it was Rich's, actually, so. Yeah. Just wanted to remind everybody, Monday nights, the Chamber's running the movies at Cooper's Beach, and it's great. You go down, you'll see truckloads of kids and families, and
Great.
they've got popcorn and all sorts of neat stuff going on there, so the Chamber's doing a nice job. Friday nights, we've had at the 25 Jobs Lane, Southampton Center outdoors, we've had the movies going on there, which we've gotten a lot of activity there. On Sunday, we have a lung cancer run, so you guys are welcome to join me. I'm sure all you guys are going to go do that, right?
On my good leg.
And then the next Sunday is Ellen's Run, and so that's a big thing for the hospital. And they raise money for women's cancers, and they've done some great things over at the hospital, along with that Lucia's room at the hospital, which is a really nice atmosphere for people in the final stage of their life and their family, and it's incredible. Monday, they're actually going to be breaking ground at the hospital, and that's on their operating rooms. And it's exciting. They had a nice donation to help them with that. And we've got September Fest plannings going on. It's last September, and it's last Saturday in September. Actually, it's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday event this year, and it's grown, and a lot of great participation and support from the community on that. So those are a few things that are going on right now and in the future. And Chief, I do have to say that I did see the TCOs on Saturday and Sunday. We had a lot of traffic around here. They were out at the intersections moving traffic, especially around Golden Pear. CJ Gambino really took charge in there. It was moving traffic and moving people along, and you could tell it just by the traffic flow in the area. So they were doing a great job. So good presence out there for a lot of those kids, so which was good. So we have a second public comment. Anybody from the public would like to come up? Jerry, you want to come up? No? Okay. All right. So I'm going to make a motion to close the public portion and adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing personal matters involving village employees.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.